I remember not too long ago when God told me to not focus on right or wrong, but to focus on instead a relationship with Him. And that was startling to me because, fear starts to kick in. Well, what about this? What about that? What if I sin here? What if I do this wrong? What if I make the wrong decision? And what I found is that those of us who exist within the good or bad, right or wrong paradigm, it can sometimes be so exhausting to try to always make the right decision because underneath that is this constant fear of failure. And it's in Romans 8 where there's a particular translation, I think it's the Passion Translation, that said that God has not given us the spirit of fear, and He has not given us a spirit of never being good enough, right? Or being afraid that we're always going to fail. Like, that's not God's will for us. And so I think especially those who are desiring to live a life that is reverential to God and desiring to walk with God, sometimes if we are taught to be performance driven, or if we are taught that we can only please God if we make the right perfect decision all the time, it can be a roadblock because now life becomes about always trying to do the right thing. And that's exhausting. And the thing about it is, when we read the Bible, we look through Romans, we look through Galatians, we look through Hebrews. I mean, there's this continual theme of being made right by God, not being made right by what we did, but being made right by what Jesus did. And it's interesting because, we'll go to churches and they say, oh, okay, believe in Jesus and it's all about grace. We'll talk about this. But then there's a silent demand on people sometimes. They have to try to do things right all the time and have to try to make the right decision perfectly. And if they don't, their life's going to be in shambles. And it's just so much pressure sometimes to try to be perfect and try to make decisions about things that half the time we don't have the full information on. So when God said, I don't want you to focus on right or wrong, I want you to focus on a relationship with me, what I started to learn was that my focus, my emphasis to try to do things so right, it became so crippling because it took my eyes off of actually getting to know God. It took my eyes off of actually getting to develop a relationship with the Most High. And it became more about what I could do. It became more about me than it was what God already did and how He wanted to show up in my life and how He wanted me to believe Him. And so it's been a continual learning and unlearning process of me waking up every single day and being like, it's actually not really about what I do. It's about what Jesus actually did. And as I rest in that revelation of what He did and Him making me righteous by faith, as it says in Romans and in Hebrews and Ephesians, and I mean all throughout the New Testament, as I rest in that revelation that He made me righteous, then it's actually easier for me to now do right things because actions flow out of identity. It says, as a man, thinks in his heart, so is he. As we think, as we the thoughts that go through our brain, the things that are inside of us, they motivate us. They come out inside of us. They guide everything that we do. This is why Jesus said, if you make the tree good, the fruit will be good. Because He's saying it's all about identity. It's all about identity. If your identity is righteous, if you've been made righteous, if you accept that about yourself, you're automatically going to produce a life that is pleasing to God. So I think that's been something that I've been learning personally, that instead of trying to make myself feel righteous by doing everything perfectly all the time, it's a lot easier to just believe and accept what Jesus said, allow that revelation to really settle in my heart, and then see how that revelation starts to change and transform the way I think, the way I process, and then ultimately the things that I do.